Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned. But most of all, we focus on the lessons learned for you to learn from. I am your host. I'm Christy Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist and I work with service based businesses who have built themselves on referrals and word of mouth. And they get to a point where they realize they need to finally think more strategically and holistically about their marketing in order to grow and have a bigger impact for the future. Today, I am so excited to welcome on a fellow marketer to the show. Allison Verhalen is joining me, and she majored in English and psychology without realizing she was getting the perfect degree for content marketing. We followed similar paths in that way. It wasn't until a few years after she graduated, when a family friend asked her to write blog posts for his law firm, that she realized she could make money doing what she loves. Fast forward to today, and Allison is still writing blog posts as well as website landing pages and emails, but also integrates SEO and marketing strategy into the content she writes to give her clients their best chance of attracting, engaging, and converting their ideal clients. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you here. I mean, I have fun with all of my guests, but I think it's especially like a little extra juicy when I have a fellow marketer on who's
Mhm.
willing to talk about some of their own marketing missteps, because just because we're marketers doesn't mean we don't have our own mistakes that we've made. So I appreciate you coming on the show. I always like to give a shout out to whoever connected us, whatever group or person. And so we were going back in our memories before we hopped on, and Camille Diaz gets a shout out today. We got connected through a networking event that Camille hosted about a year ago. So yeah, we're excited to be here today. We have chatted a bunch since then. I think we did a LinkedIn Live at one point
We
last
have.
year. So it's been great to kind of have you in my world, to see the content that you produce. And I know we have lots of synergies besides our backgrounds in psychology, um, just in the way in
Mhm.
terms of that we approach content strategy and organic inbound marketing and all of those things. So, yes.
100%.
So today, I'm going to hand the mic over to you here. We are going to be talking about an experience that you had that I know will resonate with so many people listening to the show. You told me that you had an experience where you kind of resisted giving in, but you finally did give in and you started posting on Instagram to try and build a following there. I don't want to spoil
Mhm.
what happened for everyone listening, but where would you like to kick off that conversation today, Allison?
Well, the podcast is called Marketing Mistakes, so I think we all know where this is going. Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of a long journey for me. It involved a lot of steps and a lot of different things I was thinking about. It all started, I don't actually remember when it started. It would have been years ago, not too long after I quit the day job to do what I'm doing full time. And as you said, I got started writing blog posts, which is really what I love doing. I love blogging. I love writing the long form website content and email marketing. That's really what I enjoy digging into. Social media, and I know I'm a millennial and I'm supposed to be all over social media, and I have been like the last adopter of any social media of all of my friends. They're like, what do you mean you didn't check Facebook 500 times today and see all of the chats? What do you mean you're not on Twitter yet? That I'm that millennial. So yeah, learning that I needed to be on social media for my business was kind of an ugh, I guess. And Instagram in particular, I resisted because it's a visual
Yes.
medium and I'm a writer. I don't work in a visual medium. I'm not good at shooting pictures or creating images. Don't ask me to draw anything. It will look like a third grader drew it. So really resisted for that reason. And yeah, it was kind of like people beating me over the head with like, well, you have all these audiences are on here and there's so many people on Instagram and so many opportunities and you can get all this data on your posts and your audience and all this information and you can take advantage of that. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll get on Instagram. I'm trying to remember. It was kind of an off and on thing for me where I tried just posting like my blog posts. Like, here's the header image of my blog post. And that was super boring. Not the way to go. So that didn't work, and then I kind of rebranded. That was when I was, like, freelancing, and then I went into AV Writing Services, which is my company that I have now. I'm trying to remember when I decided to, like, really dive into Instagram. I think I had been listening to some podcasts about, and again, because I'm B2B, I work primarily with attorneys, financial planners. I work with a lot of other businesses. I was like, those people aren't really on Instagram. And I, again, kept hearing, no, there's a lot of opportunities on Instagram for B2B. You should really be on Instagram for B2B. Okay, fine. So I decided if I was going to do it, I was really going to do it. And I even came up with a plan and a schedule. And I was like, I'll post this on Monday and this on Tuesday. And I had everything planned out for Monday through Friday because I'm not going to post on weekends. I know I should do it. I'm not going to do it. I have boundaries. Not posting on weekends is one of my boundaries. And I really tried it for like a year. And I want to say it was about a year ago, I was kind of going through my plan and all right, I have too much to do and not enough time to do it all. And yet I'm still not reaching my revenue goals. So what's got to give here? And Instagram was a surprisingly time intensive thing. Like you would think it's just come up with an image and post it and get some hashtags on there. And there's that. And then there's the engagement because you have to be active on the platform in order for it to reward you with views and likes and all of the things. And so it ended up being quite the time suck. I took a look at what I had been doing and how long I had been doing it and realized that I had really been devoting a significant amount of time to this for more than a year and was still not getting any traction and not getting the results that I wanted. So I went off Instagram. And actually, as I'm saying this, I think another mistake I made in that was not really keeping my audience front and center, which is something that I always tell my people that they should be doing. And it's not something I always do for myself. So I do think that was an issue because I mean, again, you and I are connected on LinkedIn. I see your posts on LinkedIn all the time and we engage. That's where my audience is hanging out. That has been much more beneficial for me. I would say better results with less time and effort. So that's been really good for me because that's where my people are hanging out. They're not on Instagram. They do tend to be older for the most part. So they never really hopped onto the Facebook, Instagram train. But all of their network is on LinkedIn. So they make sure to spend a little bit of time on LinkedIn and post there and check in on what's going there. So yeah, I would say that's the other mistake I made was not keeping my audience front and center because they are not on Instagram.
Okay, there are so many things I want to dig into in this conversation. So going back to the very start of this, the decision that you made, it sounds like you knew in your gut, like, I really don't want to go on this platform. Like, it's another thing. It doesn't feel aligned, right, with the type of work that you do. To your point, you enjoy writing. Instagram's a visual platform. So you're going to be like pulling your hair out, trying to figure out what kind of images am I going to be posting. And let me just stop and say, like, that's the reason I'm not on Instagram. Like, I like it for my personal life. You know, it's some feel-good content, people I follow, funny dogs everywhere. Give me all of the reels of Labradors. Yes, please. But for my business, and I've had the same thing, Allison. I've had a lot of people tell me, well, you should get on Instagram. And I haven't. I've resisted it. I created an account just because I didn't want someone to steal it before I filed marketing uncomplicated trademark. I should probably get that one too, just in case. But I think I got like Christy Mitchell Consulting just in case I decided to do it, but I never did, never posted. And for the same reason that you said, it was like, it just doesn't feel like the content that I'm used to creating, that I enjoy creating. Like, this is going to be a whole lot of extra work. And by the way, we didn't even talk about like reels and video content and all of those things that now, from my understanding, like you need a lot of content. You need a lot of video content too.
That's probably another mistake I made was not investing in stories and reels. I did do videos. I'm actually very comfortable doing videos and just like hopping on live and giving a few quick tips. But yeah, and I like you, I use Instagram personally. My dog has an Instagram account if you want to go check that out. Again, I don't post regularly, but it's, whenever she does something particularly cute or hilarious. So yeah, that goes up on Instagram. But yeah, it's the whole, yeah, you gotta keep up. And when I'm on it, that's always the first thing I go to is the
Yeah.
stories, because I'm not going to be that person who scrolls through Instagram all day, because I know that's
Yep.
how they get you. That's what they want you to do. And then your entire day is blown. And how come I didn't get anything done today? It's because Instagram
Yes.
sucked you in. So I resist
Yep.
that pretty hard. But the stories are a great way to resist that, and also from the creator side, to get people to get eyeballs
Yep.
on your content, because it's right there at the top of the feed and people can just click through and see what's going on
Yeah.
there. So yeah, should have invested in
Right,
stories.
right. Yeah, so this whole notion of like giving in to the peer pressure, I personally can relate to it, and know people listening to the show can relate to it for sure. Especially I think those business owners who are not experts in marketing, they are, I think, especially prone to this fear of missing out and, well, other people are doing it and telling me I need to do it, so I'm going to go do it. But I think we're sharing a lot of tidbits for business owners who might be in this situation, whether it's social media or really any marketing tactic, taking a step back and saying, maybe asking yourself some questions that we're pulling out of this conversation today. First of all, being, is it going to be an easy transition for me to be present here and for me to create the content that I need
Mhm.
to show up on this platform or do whatever this marketing tactic is? Because if it doesn't fit in nicely, you need to be real with yourself and say, do I have the time and energy to do this? Do I have the budget to outsource it if it's going to be so completely different than the other things I'm already doing for my marketing?
100%. Yes.
So, the other thing I wanted to pull out from what you were saying, Allison, is this idea of, so the first is, kind of giving into that pressure. The other piece is knowing your audience and where are they hanging out. I think that's the second key question to ask yourself before you engage in any new marketing tactic is, does it make sense for me and my business? And I've had, related conversations with other guests on the show is, just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it's right for me and my
Mhm.
business and my audience, and where are they hanging out? So how did you kind of come to that realization that, like, wait a minute, I'm doing this and my audience isn't hanging here?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was the not getting engagement, not getting results. And the engagement I was getting was largely from other marketers, which is cool. And it's obviously it's fun to hang out with other marketers. I enjoy hanging out with you and doing things like this, but it's not, I need to talk to more than just other marketers in order to really drive results for my business. So I think that was my first key, was not only am I not getting business results, but the engagement that I am getting is not the engagement that I need to get to drive results for my business.
Hmm. Now, this is another thing we talk about a lot on this show, and I'll share my thoughts, but I want you to share yours first. So, you said you were active consistently on Instagram, it sounds like, for a year.
Mhm.
Do you think that that was the right amount of time? If you could go back, would you have done it differently? More time, less time, right amount of time?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good amount of time. And it's funny again, because going back to LinkedIn, because I've played around with LinkedIn a lot. I also think 5 times a day, or not 5 times in, but didn't really give much thought to it. It was like, here's a link and a blurb about the link, and that was kind of all I did. So more recently, I've actually pulled back and I post less frequently,
Mhm.
but they're longer, more in-depth posts. They're my newsletter. There's a social thing that I post on Sunday. There's a longer, in-depth thing that goes out on Wednesday. And then if there's, something I want to promote or something fun that comes up, like today, we're recording this on April Fool's Day. So I posted something about April Fool's Day on my LinkedIn just because it was fun. So yeah, it has actually paid off, I think, pulling back and posting less frequently, but really putting more thought into the content that I am posting and making sure that it's higher
Mm.
quality and more
Yeah,
engaging.
yeah. It's interesting you say that because I've gone in waves too. hold on, actually, wait, before I lose this train of thought, I want to go back to the point about like the timeline. That's what I wanted to bring that up, because that is a question I get a lot, is like, well, how long should you do something
Mm,
before you decide to like throw in the towel, or, like, what is a good amount of time to give a tactic to see if it's working for you? And I
mhm,
think it depends, to be
mhm,
honest. I think it depends on how much you're investing in it. I think it
mhm,
depends on what kind of business you're in, what your sales cycle usually is. But I generally say like at least 3 to 6 months. I
mhm,
give you a ton of credit, honestly, for sticking with Instagram so consistently for a year, because that is a long time.
mhm,
And I think you're right. I mean, I agree with you. Like, it for you, it was the right amount of time, and it to give it a full year, I think really shows that you gave it a good go.
mhm,
The 3 to 6 month mark for some things, I feel like you might still question, like, well, maybe I should have stuck with it a little bit longer.
mhm.
But yeah, you stuck with it for a year, and then you're like, okay, let me be real here. Let me be honest. Like, is this worth my time and energy? And I'm sure it was so draining for you.
Mhm.
The type, as we said before, like the type of content, I'm sure it just felt like this energy drain.
Yeah, it was something that I did not look forward to doing.
And I mean, I'm sure you've seen me say this because you see me on LinkedIn. Like, if you don't enjoy the marketing tactic,
Mhm,
it's probably not going to perform for you, because whether you realize it or not, that energy is just not going to. I mean, I'm not like a huge woo woo energy kind of person, but I just think there's something that happens when you get really
mhm.
excited and energized by the marketing that you're doing, or it feels like this total drain. Like, why am I doing this? I hate doing this.
100%, yes, and I do it full. I'm also not a big energy person, but I see it when people talk about something they're really passionate about, and you can just, like, see the way that they light up, and then the way that that affects the way they talk about it, and it does definitely transfer, I think, to
Yeah.
your audience because it does come across in a way. Yeah, I think people think of social media as being like this really shallow place, and it is. But it is also, I think people have gotten really defying what's authentic and what's not
Mhm.
aligned. Even if they can't put their finger on what it is, it's going to be something that they tune out of.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So the other thing I did want to circle back to, finish my thought, is frequency of posting. So
Mm,
that is something I've experimented with too. So I think for the better part of last year, I decided I was only posting 3 days a week, because same with you, is like I put so much time and energy and thought into my post. It was just really burning me out to try and post 5 days a week.
yeah,
Same as you. I've never been one to post on the weekends. Maybe a one-off here or there because of something special happening, but not usually.
yeah.
And then last year I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Like, I'm just gonna make 3 really good posts and like not burn myself out. And it went great. I didn't see like a huge difference going down to 3 from 5. But now this year, I've realized I have so much more content with doing the live show and podcast. I'm like, 2 of my posts per week can be about my live show and about my podcast. So and I
There you
use an AI content tool to like help.
go. Mhm.
So it makes it a lot easier to create those 2 extra posts. So I'm like, okay, why not? I'll show up 5 days a week. But again, anyone who knows me and knows my recommendations, I'm all about, and I'm thinking you're gonna agree with me this just based on your own experience. You have to do what works for you.
Yeah, and I tell people that with blogging as well. They always ask, how often should I be blogging? And it's like, well, the highest performance blogging is like multiple it yourself. Like that's not realistic. Don't try. If you can do once a week, great, do once a week. But if you know you cannot consistently keep up with that schedule, even when you're busy, then don't do it every week. Do it every other
Yes.
week if you can, no less than once a month. But pick a schedule that you know you can stick to even when you're busy, because that consistency is what matters more than the frequency.
Yes. Yes. 1000% yes. Consistency over frequency. For all of you listening, remember that lesson
Every time. Yes.
every time. So I do want to go back in the remaining time that we have, Allison, to your point about your ideal clients and where are they hanging out. I'm curious what advice you
Mhm.
would give to business owners out there who maybe, maybe it's not Instagram, but maybe it's a different tactic that they're considering, like maybe we should do this. What are some ways that you think are, or maybe some good questions to ask yourself when you're kind of evaluating in terms of, do I show up in this new place? Is my
Mhm.
audience there?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the best tip is not to ask yourself, but to ask your audience or even your existing clients. Where are they hanging out online? You know, ask them if where can I connect with you online?
Mm,
Place for us to connect. You're
yes.
you're gathering information on them. It's just, oh, let's connect. I'd love to connect with you online. Where are you hanging out? That kind of a thing, because there's really no better source of information than your actual existing clients. Um,
Love that.
you can absolutely dive into, you know, every social media channel now has a group, so you can see who's active there. There's all this data you can get. Changes from even not even within industries, it can change from group to group. So, you know, like marketing is a perfect example. The people I work with from on their marketing are not necessarily the people you're working with on their marketing. So they might be hanging out in different places. So it makes sense for you and I to hang out in different places. So just
Right.
just ask your people where they're hanging out and then go hang out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this point, and I feel like it's kind of reinforcing something that we touched on earlier, just that deciding where you're going to show up for your business, we can all be easily influenced by what we see other people doing. And to your point, like you just said, we are both in the field of marketing, but our audiences might be slightly different. And so it doesn't necessarily make it doesn't make sense for us to do the same things and show up in the same places. So I think that's a really important caveat for all business owners to think about, is there's probably some nuances to your specific audience that you need to take into consideration. And I absolutely love your point, Allison, about just asking your clients, your prospective clients, where do you hang out online? Where can we connect? I love that point. So,
It
so
really
smart.
is that easy.
Yeah, it is that easy. We make things so complicated, don't
I
we?
know. And to be fair, we do have access to all the data and all the numbers and all the stats and all the things, and that's very cool, but it still doesn't there are times when it doesn't beat just asking.
Straight out ask. Awesome. Well, Allison, as we get ready to wrap things up today, are there any last lessons learned, advice, tidbits that you want to share with the listeners today?
Definitely consistent, and I do you had a really good, which is also what I tell people from a blogging and SEO perspective. Like 6 months is usually around the time the rubber hits the road. That's when you're going to start seeing the
Yeah.
results. So the more, and it does have kind of a compound effect. So if it's working, that's when you're going to start see it work, is more like the 6 to 9 to 12 month
Yes.
time frame.
Yep.
I do think for myself, a year is a good amount of time. I know it's a long time, but it's a good amount of time to really see, like, are you getting any traction?
Yeah.
Have you gotten any results out of this, or is this just a waste of
Yes.
time? So yeah, I like the 3 to 6 months, but recognize that, like, that's when you're gonna start to see some movement. Don't expect, like, I'm gonna explode this following in by 100 followers in 3 months.
Yes.
Well, that's not always going to be realistic. So,
Yes. I'm so glad you brought up that point, because in an ideal world, I would definitely say the same thing, 6 to 12 months. I think sometimes I give people a little bit of an out if it's like, and I'll just say from my own personal experience, like last year, one of the things I wanted to try new was being on Alignable. So for Q1, I set quarterly
mm,
goals. So I was like, okay, so for Q1, I'm going to be consistent on Alignable. I'm going to, I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up. I'm going to connect with people. And it was so painful for me. Like, I don't even think I could do it for a whole month. And I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, I'm not forcing myself to do
yeah,
this. So I think there's that piece of it, is like, is it painful for you? Is it a struggle? Maybe you need to stop it sooner.
yeah,
But I really, really value your point, and I say that all the time, is, people will even ask me like, well, so has your podcast gotten you clients? And I'm like, I don't look at it that way. Like, ideally I would
yeah,
love to say, oh yeah, I got X number of clients. Like, but there's so many things that we do in our marketing that need a lot of time to work. And they're
hmm
just one touch point in the overall ecosystem of all of the marketing that we're doing. And so I think that that's
hmm
something that a lot of times business owners get really antsy. Like, okay, well, we did this new thing for 6 months. Where are the results? You might not see the results from those
hmm
6 months of effort until 6 or 12 months after that, to your point, like where the rubber meets the road
Mhm.
and when the results start coming. So I think that's really important for business owners to think about and consider. So I really appreciate that you brought that up here.
100%. Yeah. And if you stop after 6 months, you're cutting it off right as it's taking
Yes,
off.
yes. Awesome. Thank you so, so much, Allison, for taking the time to come on the show. If anyone listening wants to learn more about the work that you're doing and your awesome blog writing and connect with you, what are the best ways for them to learn more?
Well, like I said earlier, I have learned from experience that being on Instagram is not my place. LinkedIn is my place. That is where most of my clients are hanging out and my audience. So I am on LinkedIn as Allison Verhalen. I'm on there quite a bit. I'm also on YouTube as Allison Verhalen Content Marketer. So you can check me out there. Um, yeah, and my website, AV as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much, Allison, for coming on the show. And everyone, be sure to reach out and connect with Allison on LinkedIn, not on Instagram. You won't find her there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for having me. This
Awesome.
was
Yeah, it was
great.
great. Awesome conversation.